South Africa's economic growth increased in the second quarter of this year by expanding by 0.8%, up from 0.1% seen in the first quarter. Manufacturing, mining, trade sectors were the primary contributors to growth on the production side of the economy. On the expenditure front, stronger household consumption and softer imports contributed to positive momentum. For more on the GDP, we're joined by Mandisa Zavala, Head of Asset Allocation at AlexForbes Investments. Good afternoon, Mandisa. Thank you very much for joining us on Point. Firstly, your reaction to that 0.8% increase in the second quarter of 2025.
It was very good. Analyst expectations were for a 0.4% increase. So this is double that, actually. So I don't think anyone was estimating that our different sectors would contribute this much. And as you mentioned, a lot of our sectors, manufacturing, mining and trade, were big contributors. But if you count the 10 biggest industries within the bigger GDP pool or basket, 8 of those have been positive or have grown. So that's a very good number.
I want us to be a bit more granular on these key findings, looking at the sectors that you touch on now. Perhaps starting with manufacturing, which has increased by 1.8%, contributing 0.2 of a percentage point in the GDP growth. Your views on that?
Look, very strong. The key drivers there was the automotive industry, as well as some petroleum, chemicals, literally key in our manufacturing has been some of those. So very strong. I think it also does sort of come in a surprising manner, given that, we're currently in the middle of a trade war, and the whole point is people want to manufacture their own goods on the ground. So it is telling a good story for this past quarter. We obviously needed to continue up until the end of the year in order for it to feed positively into the outright number or the outright GDP number for the year.
And then the largest positive contributions came from petroleum, chemical products as well, rubber and plastic products. Your take on this?
So this one, I mean, these are raw goods, right? And these raw goods are key in many industries from a global and local perspective. So you can see that there's definitely, activity happening on the ground. You've got petroleum being quite, I think from a consumer perspective, that's a very good thing, because I think from a petrol perspective, we've been, we've gotten some release, especially recently having had an outlook on recently having had news that OPEC might continue to increase supply, which will bring down the oil price even more. I think we may still continue to see some activity there. Chemicals is a good story as well, because again, that's also a raw material, raw good into a lot of different manufacturing sectors, not only from a local perspective, but globally. And of course, we've got rubber and plastics, as you've mentioned, which are also quite key as well in a lot of different areas of growth and production in general. So again, these are very key sectors. Very good looking forward, and the numbers are, I guess, speaking for themselves.
And then on the industries that decreased, we see construction, being among those, decreasing by 0.3%, and this is in residential and non-residential. And for many, it seems there's no surprise, because even on this program, we've been looking at construction, and there've been a number of problems. Your take on just this decrease?
Yeah, so construction is done well. It's one of those where in the past, or rather last year, it did exceptionally well. It was coming from very low levels. We saw rapid rise in construction. It's obviously, it's not surprising that is definitely going to ease off from its very high levels. But still, the manner in which it is easing is showing that there's definitely limited building activity that's happening. I think the relief that's coming from lower interest rates, the construction business is not seeing that already. I think consumers are rather benefiting from that. We're not seeing as many new buildings and infrastructure being built. And that may be a reason also to sort of say perhaps confidence from a business perspective is not that strong. Infrastructure investment is currently quite weak. Maybe it's as a result of the environment from not only locally but globally. That's a question mark, but it definitely is sort of showing a good picture as to what the business sector is sort of saying. So construction is a very good way for us to see whether or not people are feeling confident. I think right now that's telling the story that confidence may not be as strong from a business side as we would want it to be.
I love that context or your perspective when it comes to construction, because many would be alarmists and just think, oh, that decrease means there's bigger problems. But if you're contextualizing it and saying it was coming from a high base, so when you're seeing it neutralize now, it's not that many should be alarmed. And then on transport, storage and communication, that industry also decreased by 0.8%, I believe. What can we attribute this decrease to?
So the transport one is mainly as a result of the services sector. So if we think about what's happening with the Transnet, rails, there's bottlenecks. Again, this is not a new thing. This is something that's been going on there, and there are some things that are being done in the background by the different different government sectors in order to combat this. I think definitely once you get Transnet back online fully, because it is fully back online, you've got rails playing their part. This is a number that will probably be behind us. But for now, there's still some bottlenecks, port bottlenecks that are still being seen. And I think because of also the global trade war that is currently going on, it is exacerbating things, and it's not just a South Africa thing. So there's weaker logistics throughout. I think goods are not moving as efficiently as we would want them to be from a rail and road perspective. So that's why you're seeing this number coming through as one of the things that are pulling down this GDP number.
Mandisa, thank you very much for your insights this afternoon.